the Vikings playoff path and a wide-open NFC, and a new injury update on big names as the trade deadline comes and goes. We're breaking it all down, and it's coming up next on Superior Sports Talk.
Locked On Sports Minnesota Podcasts. It's endless Minnesota Vikings talk with the diverse voices of your local experts. Now it's Superior Sports Talk with KARE 11 sports anchor Reggie Wilson and Luke Inman. It's 30 minutes every day, and it's all the Minnesota sports you need. It's Superior Sports Talk, and it starts now.
Back in the lab, Reggie and Luke back at it. Another episode. It's Superior Sports Talk presented by Locked On Sports Minnesota. This is your daily 30-minute breakdown of everything Minnesota sports, which you can now find streaming on your Roku or Amazon Fire Stick devices. Look out for our Locked On Sports Minnesota app there as well. That's Reggie Wilson on Twitter, at Reggie Wilson TV, and on KARE 11. Tuesday, Reg, I missed yesterday's show. I assume our guy Sam Ekstrom filled in beautifully for me. How'd he do? What'd I miss?
Yeah, man, I'm glad you're back because he was coming for your job, man. You got to watch yourself.
No. I'm going to get Wally pipped, man. Watch out. Hey, did you guys dress up for a Halloween show? Did you do anything fun or special last night other than, hand out some candy at your place? What'd you guys do?
No. Didn't do that. But there is a story up on KARE 11 right now of me and Jana Shortall going through a haunted house. And
I saw it.
It's for your entertainment purposes purely.
Yeah, you had to play fullback. She kind of just hid behind you most of the time and made you go first in most of those rooms. That's funny. Got to check that out. Lots to get into, but first, remember, follow along Locked On Minnesota YouTube channel. Hit the subscribe button. Leave us a comment. And on Twitter, give us a follow. It's at Locked On MIN. And remember, we're a podcast too, free and available. All platforms, Spotify, Apple, you name it, we got it. Tons of great choices over there. You got the Ron Johnson Show, you got the Football Party, and more. Your one-stop shop with endless Vikings talk with local experts. Do us a favor, hit the subscribe button, and drop us a 5-star review. All right, Reg, we usually like to start the show on a high note, but today, unfortunately, it's with a heavy heart. I must share the breaking news. Just moments ago, it was reported Adam Zimmer, son of Mike Zimmer, former linebacker coach for the Vikings, has passed away. The announcement made by his sister, Corri Zimmer, this morning broke the shocking news. As of now, no details have emerged, but it goes without saying, we're all deeply saddened by the loss. Adam was a fixture here in this community during his tenure. He brought so much love and kindness both on and off the field. He was currently working for the Bengals. I'm sure they're going to issue their own statement here shortly, but Reg, just such terrible news to start the day from a family that did so much for this state and fan base for so many years, not just on the field, but off the field with things like the Zimmer Foundation.
Yeah, it's tough, man. So I have a friend who covers the Bengals, Ben Baby, for ESPN, and I was just chatting with him, just trying to figure out what happened, man, because, he's been with the Bengals as an offensive analyst after, obviously spending so many years with the Vikings, and he wasn't sure, but he said, he hasn't really seen him around in a while. And so it's an interesting situation. The Bengals just released this statement saying our organization has had the privilege of knowing and working with the Zimmer family for 15 years. We have the highest regard for Mike and Adam, and we are incredibly saddened by this tragic news. Mike and Adam were more than just coaches for us. They were friends. Our thoughts and prayers are with the Zimmer family at this time. Yo, it's just kind of crazy because it just seems like yesterday you're showing up at those press conferences every week, and Adam Zimmer is talking about what they're doing on defense and things like that. It's just sad, man. You just never want to hear about things like that. 38 years old, man. Like
horrible.
And this morning is just heavy, man. I don't know if you saw the rapper Takeoff from Migos. He was shot and killed in Houston this morning.
Man?
It's just a reminder of how fleeting this life is. It can be just a vapor, one minute you're here and the next is not ever promised, day to day. So your heart goes out to the Zimmer family. They've endured loss before with Zimmer losing his wife, and this is just awful. His sister Corri mentioned that in the Instagram post and how much he was a rock for her 38 years old, man. It's just so young, way too soon. No parent should ever have to mourn their child. And I can't imagine the grief and the pain that Mike Zimmer is in this morning. We're definitely thinking of him, praying for him. And man, just unbelievably sad.
Well said. We'll share any more news that comes along our way. But until then, like you said, Reggie, our deepest condolences and prayers and well wishes to the Zimmer family. No easy transition, obviously, from tragic news like that, but to football we must go. I'm sure you and Sam broke it all down in typical fashion yesterday. I need to relive some Victory Monday vibes that I missed out on. So, biggest storylines in the Vikings 34-26 victory over the Cardinals Sunday. Give me your just top one or two storylines from a game that, I mean, let's face it had plenty of wild and dramatic play to choose from.
Yeah, so obviously Za'Darius Smith, coming big with those 3 sacks, getting hurt. He said he fell on his knee a little bit. You could see him kind of limping around in the facility yesterday. I don't know if you saw the Halloween video of the dietitian scaring all the guys that they posted on Twitter and Instagram yesterday. Za'Darius comes limping through, big dog limp, walking through the facility. She scares him a little bit. He puts his fists up, and everybody's just like, oh my God, should we be worried about Z? And it's just like, I feel like it's just typical. I just played a game yesterday. I'm a little banged up type thing. But to come back after injuring his knee and deliver one of the 2 walk-off sacks yesterday to close the game out, big time. And he's been everything that they could have asked for since coming over to this team. And he's really just kind of setting the tone on defense. Danielle Hunter's going to get involved and get his sooner or later, especially if some double teams maybe start coming towards Za'Darius, but they're moving them around a lot and just putting them in different places to succeed. And that's exciting to see if you're a Vikings fan, because he's getting home a lot. 8.5 sacks. Like, the dude is a monster this year. And so that was a big storyline for me. Also, Dalvin Cook. I was saying yesterday, we were talking to Dalvin after his game a couple weeks ago, the last home game, and he was upset. Even though he had 2 touchdowns, he was upset because he felt like he could have done more in the rushing yardage category. Well, finally he breaks through, gets that 100-yard game, and now he's feeling good, feeling better. And so that was a big point of emphasis. Seems like Kevin O'Connell found something with that running game. I think, the offensive line played well, but also, that Cardinals defense was a little porous as far as stopping the run. So we'll see if they could continue that forward, in Washington this weekend with that run game. That would be very beneficial for them, especially being on the road, having that run game kind of neutralize the defense and kind of take out the crowd.
Yeah, the NFL is so fluid week to week, like so many ebbs and flows. And as media, we tend to overreact, maybe put too much stock into what's happening lately. But having said that, I'm glad you brought up Za'Darius, because he's got to now be in the discussion as maybe one of the best, if not the best, free agent signings of the offseason in the entire NFL. Leads are as tied with most sacks with 8.5, as you mentioned. Quarterback pressures, he's up there as well. And he's only costing the Vikes $5.5 million on the cap this year, while your division rival pays him nearly 2-3 times that right now on their cap. So Sunday, you're right, he took over, maybe the MVP of the entire game. That was storyline 1 for me, and I think a lot of people. Number 2, Patrick Peterson and Jordan Hicks, the revenge game factor, their level of play they both brought to the table was a huge catalyst in that Vikings victory. And the things Pat P said after the game, letting out some serious frustration and steam on his former team and Steve Keim, the GM specifically, it got a little wild and bizarre. I'm not going to lie to you at times, talking about they would leave letters at his locker from season ticket holders saying he was washed up, he tackles like a girl, he's soft, he's too slow, so on and so on. And he's like, why would you give me these? What's the point in giving me these or showing me these? So I understand the frustration. And it's funny, now through 8 weeks, he's been one of the better cornerbacks in the league. Passer rating allowed, pass deflections, touchdowns allowed, after so many said he was washed up and too old. And it's funny, I'm sitting there in the fourth quarter, turn to my buddy, I'm thinking, All right, game's coming down to the wire again. Who needs to step up? Well, the defense played great all game. I know they gave up the most points they had all season, but still, they played great against a really good offense. And DeAndre Hopkins and Kyler Murray, multiple sacks, multiple turnovers, multiple splash plays. Can't really ask a lot more from them. The offense, you look at the scoreboard, they put up 34 points. I can't really ask a lot more from them. Even the special teams, they had a huge splash play turnover on that muff punt. So I didn't know who realistically I was supposed to ask even more from at that point. But point is, total team effort Sunday, some outstanding complimentary football. And I think at this point, we just have to accept the fact. This team's 6-1. They're not playing their best football, but this is who they just might be. They play well enough to win every game. It takes all 4 quarters to do so. They're not blowing out any teams. And you just got to endure a lot of roller coaster up and down dramatics to get there in the process. So kind of is what it is. 6-1, having fun though. Moving on, Vikings winning into Sunday's game. Maybe the healthiest team in the NFL. Call it the new training staff or new program. Call it whatever you want. But going into that game, only one guy on the injury report, Jalen Naylor. They leave the game, however, with some big names dinged up. Dalvin Tomlinson could miss some time. He's got a lower body injury, along with Irv Smith Jr. Sounds like he's got a high ankle sprain. Typically, those are about 3 to 4 weeks on average. If Tomlinson misses some time, sounds like they'll go with the rotation. James Lynch, Ross Blacklock, Jonathan Bullard. Tight end, however, they're down to just Johnny Mundt. Ben Ellefson can't even come back from the IR until week 10. Reg, just your thoughts on the injuries, first and foremost, which one kind of worries you more? And with the trade deadline approaching later today, any last final guesses as to which, if any, moves they could make to bring in some help here?
They might have to. You know, you think about the tight end position, and that was a position that we were just kind of like we were a little on the fence as it was, especially with Irv still coming back from the injury, and you're like, okay, is he going to be healthy? And then he comes back, and then they're featuring Johnny Mundt, and you're like, oh, okay, I guess, you know, Johnny Mundt scores his first ever NFL touchdown on Sunday, which was really cool on a play that was designed for him. But they do need a little bit more. You look at how the Rams used their offense with the tight ends when they had Higbee, when they had Gerald Everett. They really feature those tight ends in that passing game. And they also need their tight ends to block, which Johnny Mundt was primarily that type of a guy in Los Angeles. And so I think they are going to have to try to make a move. I don't know that you're going to find what you need on the free agency tip, but they're going to have to try to do something, because just having Johnny Mundt is not gonna cut it. They can try to, you know, elevate a guy from the practice squad and, you know, maybe roll there. They seem to be content with their tight ends. I don't know. Maybe they know a little bit more than we do. Maybe KOC feels like he can just overcome that. But that's a position where you think about it, especially with Kirk Cousins in the past. Tyler Conklin scored 2 touchdowns on Sunday, and that was Kirk Cousins' guy last year, especially when Irv went down the first time. And so, like, he prefers and enjoys throwing it to the tight end. And so I'm interested to see what they do there. Dalvin Tomlinson is a huge, huge loss for this team. Huge loss. And I think that's something that you're just like, okay, like you try to, you know, get the rotation going and all that stuff. I don't know if this is now the time where you see if you can kick the tires on a guy like Sue coming in and seeing what he can bring to the table. This is interesting. This is interesting for Kevin O'Connell because, you know, he played it right during the preseason, played it right during training camp. This Vikings team has been largely one of the healthiest teams in the league, but because of the nature of the sport, you can't stay healthy all year. And inevitably, these injuries have happened to some key guys, mind you. And so now we're going to see what KOC can do as far as, you know, just using the depth that he has and overcoming some of these injuries and still trying to, you know, get these wins going, because it's not easy. It's not easy overcoming some of these injuries. Other teams have been hit way harder than them, but this is one of those other adverse moments that is going to really show how he overcomes. Can he still just continue to keep this team winning in spite of?
Irv Smith, probably out a month-ish. I mean, just a rough timetable. Ben Olsen, he can't come off the IR until next week. You're left with Johnny Munt, and then on the practice squad, you got 2 tight ends. Nick Muse, the 7th-round rookie from South Carolina, and Jacob Hollister, former Seattle Seahawks tight ends. Things just look and feel mighty different when you're sitting at 6-1, because now all of a sudden, if you're the front office and coaching staff, you just need to sit down and have a serious conversation about, is this a time to push our chips all in and try to make a big swing at this deadline and add someone that could help put you over the top? It's a wide open NFC this year. We say it all the time. And you should have the division, by the way, locked up by the time you're still putting up your Christmas ornaments. This is a rare possible Super Bowl window that they're looking at if they play their cards right. So it's just a matter of if there's anyone available they think can make them that much better for the asking price. And you got to remember, too, they're already down a 4th and a 6th-round pick. So Kwesi would probably have his work cut out for him. End of the day, though, you got to assume bringing in at least a tight end, like you mentioned, for depth purposes, has to be the A topic at TCO this morning. Mike Gesicki just comes to the top of my mind. If you're able to get him for a late day 3 pick, I'm punching that all day. Why not? Weekly tradition on the show, going through ESPN's latest power rankings. Despite the win, Vikings remain at the 5 spot, still entrenched in that kind of second tier with the Cowboys ahead of them, and then the Ravens, Dolphins, Seahawks, Niners right behind them. Bills, Eagles, Chiefs remain in that top 3 in the upper tier all alone. Reg, it's the most wide open we've seen the NFC in years. We always talk about it. Rodgers and Brady, it was always them as of late. Dak and the Cowboys, McVay and the Rams, Niners and Shanny. All those were powerhouses, so to speak, the last 2, 3, 4 years. This year, outside of the Eagles, feels like anyone's chance to just get hot and make a run here at the end. Thoughts on the Vikes in the top 5 once again, and which teams outside of the Eagles in the NFC scare you the most once the Vikings do indeed get into the playoffs?
Yeah, so you're kind of looking at it, and they stay the same. The Cowboys are ahead of them, which, whatever, pick your poison, I guess. And we'll see them coming soon. So we'll get a chance to see who is the better team. But, I think here's the thing. We talk about the 6-1 record. You are what your record says you are at the end of the day. And, Kirk Cousins talked about how last year he felt like the team was a really good football team, but for some reason in those close games, they just couldn't pull those out. And he felt like they were a team that could do some damage if they were able to get into the postseason. But you got to win those close games. You can't lose these games to the Browns and the Lions and think that you're going to, get in. And so that was the problem last year. This year, I was listening to Kirk Cousins, and he was talking about how, they would love to pull away when they have a lead, but he feels like during his time in the NFL, this is just how it is, how things have evolved. And you look at it, these other teams are, that the Raiders got shut out on Sunday. And you're like, excuse me? In today's NFL, when you got Josh Jacobs, you got Devontae Adams, you got Hunter Renfrow, you got all these weapons on this team, and you get shut out in the NFL? Are you kidding me? What? And so I think when you look at the Vikings and you just look at how the NFL is going, like any given Sunday, Brady's been getting beat left and right this season by teams where you're like, really? Like, they don't even hold Brady's jockstrap. Like, what is going on? Why are they beating the Bucks? But like, this is just kind of what happens. I do think, like, the teams ahead of them have had better defensive performances. Maybe they aren't allowing as many points or as many, yards to opposing teams. You look at the Cowboys, you look at the Chiefs. The Chiefs are also allowing, a lot of points, but they are also putting a lot of points on people. The Bills, they look darn good, and their defense is playing better. And so I think that's probably one thing that you look at. We did the Take 11 on Sunday on the Viking show that we do, and that was eye-opening, seeing how many people were just kind of waiting on this other shoe to drop, because the Vikings have not played a game where you're like, wow, like this team is something else, but like they keep winning. So it's just like, well, like is this just how it's going to get done this year? And I think that is probably the thing that just kind of gives you pause if you're wondering like just how good this Vikings team is. You really haven't seen them put together a dominant performance. So to answer your question, you look at some of the other teams outside of them, the Niners, the Seahawks, who else in here? You got the Giants in here, which I really don't believe in them much. The Seahawks kind of made them look like how I thought that they would look. And really, honestly, any other team beyond that, you got the Bucks, you got the Rams, they're playing the Commanders, they got the Packers in their division. Like, I would probably put the Vikings over all of those teams if they continue to play how they've been playing. And so I think really it's kind of like Philly. You know, you think about Dallas, you think about maybe the 49ers, especially with the firepower that they have. They just put it on the Rams on Sunday. Like, this team is dangerous, especially if Jimmy G is not going to be throwing erratic throws and turning the ball over. That team is going to be scary as well. But other than that, like, nobody really scares me. I don't necessarily believe in the Cowboys because somehow, some way, they always find a way to blow it. But I think the Vikings have a good a chance as any to make a splash and make a run in the postseason if they keep up this type of play.
Totally match up and agree on that. Cowboys, they're good. I get it. They always shoot themselves in the foot once the lights get bright. I'm much more scared about the Niners, man. Now that they got C-Mac, you give Shanny guys like C-Mac and Debo and that offensive line and Brandon Ayuk. I'm telling you, man, there's going to be points now during the rest of the season that you look at that offense and as a defense, you just say, okay, there's just nothing we can do about that. Like, we just need our offense to just go blow for blow here and match up because defensively, there's just nothing you can do to stop C-Mac on one side, Debo doing things on the other. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch. They scare me the most, and I know it's early. I get it, but an Eagles-Niners NFC champion game just wouldn't surprise me in the least. That would make for an epic kind of chess match as well. Vikings have won 5 in a row, 3-game division lead now. The entire division, NFC North, lost. Vikings own the biggest division lead of anybody in the NFL. Reg, if I would have told you 8 weeks into the season, the division leaders in the NFC are the Vikings, the Falcons, the Eagles, and the Seahawks, what would you have said to me? Like, no way, right? Like, you're kidding me.
Right.
Vikings, Falcons, Eagles, Seahawks. Eagles, okay. Vikings, oh, all right, 50-50, but didn't see that coming. Falcons and Seahawks in the South and West? This NFL is just wild, man. And a lot more NFL to play, I get it, but this season has been quite a roller coaster for a variety of reasons. Last couple here real quick on the Vikes. Greg Joseph, what's up? Another missed extra point, brutal.
It was rough.
Another missed field goal that was blocked, brutal. But let me just play devil's advocate here real quick before I give you the spotlight. Field goals he's missed this year, 56, 56, 56, 53, and 51. Most kickers on average are hoping to hit 50%, every other on 50 plus. I know he's 0 for 5, but still, he was money in the London game. You know he can do it. You know he's got the leg. It's the extra points that honestly worry me more than anything else at the end of the day. Your quick thoughts on Greg Joseph?
Yeah, it's kind of weird, especially too. He's missing these extra points as well. Like, you're wondering, like, what is going on with this guy? And you know, you look at him after the game, and he's kind of moping around a little bit. His girlfriend was trying to take some pictures with him on the field, and he was totally not into it. But he was being a good sport anyway, especially because they got the win. So you can't be, too mad about that. But really weird, especially last year. You saw he was banging these 50-plus yard field goals. It was the ones that were inside of 50 that you were just kind of like, oh, Lord, sweet baby Jesus. But I think he's going to get it together. At one point this year, he was NFC Special Teams Player of the Week, and so I think he's going to be okay. But it is a little concerning right now.
We're getting into our Gimme One segment coming up next. But first, Vikings now 10-1 to win the Super Bowl after that 6-1 start, moving up from 12-1 coming off last week. Justin Jefferson 25-1 to win the MVP. Make sure to keep tabs all season long and check those odds out and more with BetOnline. BetOnline.net, fastest and easiest way to check in on all your betting needs. Find all your favorite sports and events at the #1 online source for odds, lines, and games. Stats, news, info. You want it. They got it. NFL, MLB, NBA, even MMA and UFC. BetOnline makes betting easy and is your number one source for all your betting needs. Go to betonline.net today to learn more. That's betonline.net. It's where the game starts. And remember, when you subscribe to Locked On Sports Minnesota, you're getting endless Vikings talk with local experts. Sam and Ron talk football every day on the Ron Johnson Show. Reggie Wilson gives you a sports anchor's perspective right here on Superior Sports Talk. And the Minnesota Football Party brings together the top Vikings podcasters in the city. Subscribe to the free Locked On Sports Minnesota podcast feed wherever you find your podcasts. Drop us a 5-star review or find our videos on the Locked On Sports Minnesota YouTube channel. Hit the subscribe button and leave us a comment. Let us know what you think. And you can now find us streaming, by the way, on your Roku or Amazon Fire Stick devices. Just download our Locked On Sports Minnesota app and enjoy all our content and daily shows for free at your fingertips any day, anytime. All right. Wrapping up here today's Tuesday show with our favorite news segment called Gimme One. Gimme one. There we go. Reg, give me one unsung hero from Sunday's victory. We talked about Za'Darius, Pat P, a couple guys on the offense. Who are the guys that maybe didn't get the spotlight and love they deserved, but still had a huge impact on Sunday's victory?
All right, I'm going to say it quick because I know we got to go. I'm just going to go Kirk Cousins, got the touchdown on the first possession of the game, and he just continues to make plays when it matters most. Got to give it to Kirk Cousins. Still no 300-yard game, but he's still just doing what he needs to do to get this team in position to win.
Yeah, rock solid from Kirk. The running game was outstanding. I'm going with Danielle Hunter. Still not collecting the stats, but I'm telling you, he's opening up a lot of things, specifically in that front seven for guys like Za'Darius Smith. All right, that's a wrap today. Back tomorrow with another episode of Superior Sports Talk presented by Locked On Sports Minnesota. Remember, you got to like, rate, review, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Join us every day for another episode with your 30-minute breakdown of everything Minnesota sports. We're a podcast too, free and available, all platforms. Subscribe, drop us a 5-star review. Find us now streaming on your Roku or Amazon Fire Stick devices. Just look out for our Locked On Sports Minnesota app there as well. That's Reggie Wilson on Twitter at Reggie Wilson TV, and check him out every night up on KARE11. I'm Luke Inman on Twitter at Luke_Spinman. Special thanks to our producer, Matt DeBritz. Tune in tomorrow to Superior Sports Talk, part of Locked On Sports Minnesota. For Reggie, I'm Luke. Until tomorrow, signing out.
Be blessed. Spread love today.